Hey Virgo, this is Michael with your February 2022 reading. I do hope that this finds you well. As I have done in the past couple of months, all of my cards are already out on the table here, and I am ready to dive into your reading. Before we do that, I just want to really quickly thank all of you who have supported this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. It's with all of your support that I've been able to continue putting out this content and doing this incredible work, so thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. All of my links are in the description box down below if you're looking for a reading or Reiki session or want to follow me on my other social media. I will be also referencing astrological transits and aspects that can be found in a list form in my blog on my website, which again is linked down below. So what we have for you this month, we are starting off with the Ace of Swords and the Three of Pentacles here. This is really interesting because there could be some sort of like exchange, or I almost want to say gossip, or kind of like back and forth. That is sort of a way I'm perceiving this energy. And this could be going on in January. This could even be going on before then. But there's something about this sort of information or kind of gossip or secrets that have been talked about that are going to be relevant to you this month. There could be something that gets exposed or something that gets revealed that makes a lot of sense for me because we have had Mercury retrograde for the past month now in January. Mercury will be going direct on the 4th of February. And it's very often as Mercury is catching up to the point in the sky where it was before it went retrograde, that pre-shadow period, or I'm sorry, the post-shadow period, that catch-up period. That is very often when we will kind of become aware of these things that have happened behind the surface, or information that we misinterpreted could be kind of revealing itself during this time as well. And that's kind of what this Ace of Swords tells me. I feel like there's been information that hasn't necessarily been public knowledge, and I'm not really sure where you fall in that, to be honest, Virgo. It's going to depend on how this lands for you, how this resonates for you. For some of you, you could be behind the scenes in this communication, kind of going back and forth with people. I could also see it that there may actually be people who are speaking about you, or there's communication around you that you are not necessarily involved in. So those are things to kind of keep in mind. I do feel like there's been a lot of focus for you also on just like work environment, your routines, how you are productive, how you're best productive. That's something that's really, really important. And I feel like you've actually been keeping to yourself for the most part. And maybe you've told a few people a few things going on. Maybe there's an idea in the oven, something's cooking. But I think really with this energy, it's like you're holding on to things. You're not necessarily playing your hand just yet, or there's a hand you haven't played yet. There could be some financial concerns for some of you as well. That could potentially be a thing. I feel like you're okay. Usually when I see the Four of Pentacles, it's not necessarily like you're destitute or you're really struggling. It's more just like being frugal or being intentional with your spending or with your resources. And resources can be more than monetary. It can also be emotional. It can be energetic. There's many ways that could apply. But there's just something about you kind of keeping to yourself in some way. And maybe that's part of this like gossipy energy I could be getting for some of you. Maybe you feel like you need to, just focus on the things that really matter. That sort of energy I could be getting. And that's just been what's been going on. I don't think that this is anything new. So if this is resonating so far, this is probably your reading. And if not, you're welcome to check out some of the other videos for your moon or rising sign. But maybe you're not aware of this conversation or things that have been happening behind the scenes. I actually do get that sense for some of you too. There's something bigger going on than you realize. And that's actually a message I feel like I need to tell you with your cards here. The new moon in Aquarius that we have on the 1st of February, this really is a time of setting habits, setting intentions, focusing on the day-to-day, focusing on our health, focusing on our wellness, starting new practices. And I think that is kind of why it's like, yeah, you really need to focus on what matters right now, Virgo. That's something you've learned from these sorts of situations or from your life. I feel like there's something that's gonna change very suddenly and very unexpectedly. And good change, because I have the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess here. And the High Priestess is actually the card that came out first. And it felt very much like following your intuition, connecting with that, taking time to meditate. There's also kind of this wondering I have of like, with sort of this back and forth, kind of this like, I don't want to say childish conversation, but almost like giddy conversation that's happening. It doesn't necessarily feel bad. I want to say that, but it doesn't feel direct. It feels very much like between friends or between coworkers, and there's someone who's left out of this, is the kind of vibe I get. And maybe that is like workers talking about a boss, or workers talking about work without the boss there. I could also see something like kind of sweet, maybe, like someone talking about you, talking about how they like you or they're drawn to you. There is some focus on relationships, especially for you this year, with Jupiter and Neptune in your sign. And sometimes the High Priestess actually is kind of this alluring energy, right? Especially if you are feminine, you might have this mystique that is alluring to people or magnetic to people. But you're very much keeping your energy to yourself, and you're kind of playing it sly, if that's the case. But this Wheel of Fortune is also telling me be open to surprises, and I feel like you know something is about to change or shift. Something is about to come through, or someone perhaps, but it kind of feels like, it feels like you're working on something. I keep going back to that too. It's like there's something you're working on. I feel like there's people kind of talking about things. Someone isn't in the know. And there could also be sort of a secret admirer kind of energy, but I think you see it. I think you feel it if that's the case with the High Priestess. And there is actually a Seven of Swords here, where someone is not being direct. Now, this can be sort of a deceptive energy. We don't always love to see the Seven of Swords because it can mean that someone has been sneaking around or doing something behind your back. I don't actually get a super nefarious vibe from that, however. I really do get the sense that something is kind of conspiring in your favor. Things are even bigger than you realize. There's about to be a change that is even more than you're really understanding right now. On some level, intuitively, you might be sensing that something is about to shift or something is about to happen, but I don't think you fully see or recognize what that is yet. As for energies that could be involved, we could have a Sagittarius in the picture with the Wheel of Fortune. We could also have High Priestess energy is the moon, so that could be Cancer energy. But honestly, I kind of think of this as just any sort of water sign energy, maybe even someone who is intuitive themselves. Wheel of Fortune does feel very, it feels like there's something kind of predestined that is happening. There's almost this dramatic plot twist or something, or something very unexpected, something that only happens in stories or movies, and maybe that's why you're not fully expecting it. You're like, oh, well, wouldn't that be crazy if something like this happened to me? But that's not going to happen. You know, I'm a Virgo, I'm realistic, I'm grounded, I'm practical. I'm not going to wait for something like that to happen to me. But I think there is something really beautiful in the works here. And I feel like with the astrology, with Mercury this month, we are playing catch up. And so I think, again, it is important for you to focus on what matters right now, but I feel like there's still something happening behind the scenes, and you kind of know it. You might not know what exactly it is, but you know something's brewing. And with Mercury in Capricorn, that's going to be forming a conjunction with Pluto, I believe on the 11th. And on that day, it's also going to be forming a trine with the North Node in Taurus, and that's your 9th house. So we have a lot of energy here in the Earth signs, which is your 5th house and your 9th house. And I'm almost interpreting this as sort of like a course correction. Like if there's something that's been off course, like Things are going to change really suddenly around the middle of the month, around the 11th. I'm kind of getting that vibe. And then Mercury will be entering into Aquarius on the 14th, on Valentine's Day. And there really could be this sense of changing your life to suit your goals, to suit your needs. It's the sixth house for you. And naturally, Virgo, that's actually the house you rule over. So that's kind of interesting that we're coming into that for Aquarius season. It feels like you're just getting stuff together. And you've kind of been in this energy since we've been in Aquarius season. You're getting all this stuff together. And I think things might be a little bumpy getting them on the tracks. But once they're on the tracks, I feel like they're moving forward pretty smoothly. I think the longer we are in February, the more direct the energy is going to be. And being ruled by Mercury, you're just super affected by whatever it's doing. And I think it gets out of that post-shadow period. I want to say it'd probably be around the 21st. So there still could be some catch-up. There still could be some miscommunications or mishaps or things you're just becoming aware of, kind of wrenches being thrown in the mix. But I feel like you're coming into a lot of stability here with the Strength card and the King of Pentacles. And the Strength card reminds me of this Leo full moon that we have on the 18th, because this is Leo energy. And it's interesting because the full moon in Leo for you, the sign before you, it's revealing things in your subconscious. It's revealing things that have been hidden. And I also want to tell you, I told this to Leo because we're in Aquarius season right now. As we're going into Pisces season, it's a really good time for you to strengthen your intuitive connection, your spiritual connection, your psychic abilities. I just find that whenever we're in the opposite season of our sign, we tend to be more intuitive because we're more attuned to the other or to the world around us, the people we're interacting with. And I do have the High Priestess here, very central and thematic to your month. You are becoming a High Priestess, or you are really returning to this role. And I feel like with the Wheel of Fortune, there's a lot here about you connecting to something larger than yourself. There are much larger forces at work. That is something I feel like I need to tell you, and you know that. And it feels like it's in your favor. Maybe there is some forces working against you, Virgo, and maybe there is like people who are kind of talking behind your back or just thinking things about you and not saying them, and you might feel that, but honestly, it's very small. This energy feels very, very small, this Ace of Swords and this Three of Pentacles. There's something you are working towards, or something that is developing that's really, I want to say, like long-lasting. There's a legacy that comes here with the King of Pentacles and the Strength card. And this could be a legacy with another person, perhaps. Maybe a Leo, maybe another Earth sign. But I feel like there really is something you are creating for yourself here too. And maybe part of this Strength card is willing to hear out or be vulnerable to other people, but not going to them for affirmation. You're very self-assured. It's almost like you're asking for a second opinion. The Strength card is very much like, she's going to hear you out, but you're not going to mess with her because she has this lion here. I love this Strength card, actually. It's really, really beautiful and so interesting. I'm loving this new deck. And there's just something very, I keep saying self-possessed. This card has come out a lot, the Strength card. And that makes sense to me because we have this Leo full moon. And again, this is Leonian energy. But even looking at this King of Pentacles and the Strength card, it's like, you know your worth. You know your value. You know there's a potential here for something really grand. And while there might be some people who are kind of working against you or talking behind your back, it feels so small. It's honestly not even worth worrying about. I mean, trust your intuition on that. You're the High Priestess. You know if it's worth worrying about or not. What I want to tell you, though, is there is something much bigger. You are in the hands of something much larger, and you're being carried into something. You just need to keep putting in the work, putting in the energy towards the things you're trying to manifest or create. And I know that Mercury, your ruling planet, is going to be forming a square with Uranus in Taurus on the 25th. And this is really interesting to me because Mercury is kind of the mind, right? It represents the mind. Uranus also represents the mind, but it's sudden information, sudden realization. Uranus is actually the higher octave of Mercury. And with this square, there might be this competition between a higher self and lower self. This potential that you have versus where you are now, there could be some tension there. I also see like needing to be more mindful in the day and with the way you spend your energy. I want to tell you to meditate. And I tell that to pretty much every sign in all these readings anyway, but it really is a beautiful tool and a beautiful practice to have. And it doesn't have to be extravagant, but really just starting or ending the day, preferably both, with even just like 10-15 minutes can really change things in a profound way. And it can really help you be more present and mindful and be course corrected. That feels like something that's happening. There's a lot of adjustments that you're making right now. And I'm even thinking too, like, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around here. Again, I'm a Virgo myself. I feel like the readings have been harder for me just expressing myself because Mercury has been retrograde. I'm very affected by what Mercury does, and it can kind of take some time to get the information out there. But with the Seven of Swords and with this Aquarian energy, I know that Aquarius energy can sometimes be like enemies, like petty enemies or competition, perhaps. So there could be something about competition as well. But I don't even... I really feel like there's two elements here at play where there's like kind of the smaller drama and the larger drama, and that makes sense with Mercury and Uranus. There's also some lovely energy happening at the end of the month with Mars and Venus forming sextiles with Neptune in Pisces. And again, Pisces is your opposite sign. There's a lot of intuition there. There's also this very dreamy energy. There could be someone who is kind of stepping forward or risking vulnerability perhaps with you. And one more thing, I keep feeling like something creative. There's something creative that you should be working on this month as well. And maybe that is like a business you're trying to create. If you're not a creative person or an artist person, there could just be something you were creating, but I feel like creativity is important for you to tap into as well. And the animal card I pulled for you, interesting, broadwing katydid, which is the stick bug here, or the leaf bug. And the message here is discover the pattern. And I'm noticing this flower of life in the background. And that feels very much like this larger energy that we're tapping into for you, especially with this Wheel of Fortune. I feel like circles in general are really thematic, and I know that's kind of a weird thing to say. I don't think I've ever actually said that in a reading before, but it feels like circles are important for you. Maybe things coming full circle. but pay attention to that as well. If there's just like circular imagery that keeps popping up for you, that could be a sign from spirit to pay attention to patterns. And also, I feel like there's something about you or something else being blended, being camouflaged again. And this really can go both ways, especially in a general reading like this. You could be hidden, someone else could be hidden from you or kind of hiding. I want to pull one more card here. Interesting. Human. Remember forgetting. It feels like maybe there is something with the past life that's coming up with the 12th house eclipse, or I'm sorry, the 12th house full moon, the full moon in Leo. Whew. I wonder if there is something about that, or if there's just something you've forgotten that is coming forward. This really does feel like a meditation energy to me. Needing to be mindful. And I know this is actually very interesting. This is a brand new deck for me, so I'm kind of riffing off of this. How I'm sort of seeing this, I think very often humans believe they are separate from nature. We even have this binary of what is natural and what is unnatural. But the truth is, if we really boil it down, humans, as extensions of nature, are not actually capable of doing anything unnatural. We are nature destroying itself. We can be destructive to nature. We can work in alignment with larger nature or with the world around us. But it's like remembering your nature. Remember what was forgotten. And I'm kind of looking at this book that is being overgrown with these flowers. Actually looks like clover. There is kind of this weird moment of interconnection, I think, too, with the world around you. And that might be this thing I was talking about with Mercury and Uranus towards the end of the month, as well as the full moon in Leo. There's some sort of merging or conflict, perhaps, between the ego mind, the conscious mind, versus the inspired mind, the higher mind, the ideals. Now I need to pull one more. What time are we at? Man, I've given you the most time. I always feel like I go overboard for Virgos. But we are very detail-oriented, so... So we have Beaver. Make manifest. Yeah, you are working on something. Again. Building something. You're not just waiting for something to happen. You need to put in the work. But you know that there are forces that are kind of working with you. You almost just have to move with them, right? And even with this imagery of like currents, it feels like there is a current that you are being carried by. And I know that's kind of contradictory to the dam that beavers may make. But that's not what this feels like. To make manifest, I feel like you are creating something in a way that's very inspired right now, and especially with this Aquarian energy we are in, there really is a lot about whatever it is that you really focus yourself on, whatever it is that you really dedicate yourself to, that is what is going to manifest. And I know that feels like less magical, but I think when you look back at what you've worked on, you're going to see just how much magic there was that you didn't recognize. You didn't know where this would take you, because there is something beautiful you're building here with the King of Pentacles. Keep focusing on the thing you're trying to create. Keep focusing on the thing you're trying to build. Put something towards that every day. I actually want to make I want some of you to make an altar as well, and to make an altar to the thing you're trying to manifest. Because I'm looking at this beaver card. I'm looking at the altar in the den here, and it feels like something that you should be doing as well. Creating sacred space. And I think you're doing that with the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess. You're giving yourself space. You're tuning to this new cycle. And I even wonder if there's something... I know this year is really about Virgos and relationships. There's a lot of focus there. Maybe you're making space for new partnerships to come in. You're kind of weeding the garden here with the Seven of Swords. And you're maintaining nature, you're maintaining space. That's what humans do. They maintain space when we're aligned. And I know a lot of people have this sort of ideology of like humans need to just stay away from nature. Like we just need to go into our own little enclaves. But when you actually look at the people who were most attuned to nature, I'm thinking specifically of Native Americans, the indigenous people, the first people of the US and Canada, and South and Central America. Very often there was this maintaining of wild spaces. There were entire forests of fruit and food that were caretaken by these people. It's actually one of the reasons why these lands were colonized. White people came and they saw these beautiful forests just brimming with fruit and life, and they thought they walked into the Garden of Eden. And they didn't take care of it. They stole it, and the land didn't yield for them the way it yielded for the people who took care of it. And maybe that's what this human energy is really about. It's what are you caretaking? Remember, you are part of the natural world. Remember, you are part of your life. Ground into your life. Ground this big destiny or this purpose into your life. Okay, now I feel like that was everything. I do hope that this was helpful for you, Virgo. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section down below what it is that you're just keeping your eyes on. What is your vision set on? I think that's super, super important. And I will see you all in the next video. All of my links are down below, and I'm wishing you a very happy February. Take care.